So what I have done is put together a lot of slides. So I'm going to zoom through them really quickly. And the reason is I know you're all familiar with the invasives already and that it is a really serious problem. The statistics have changed, and I don't know if you've heard this before, but we used to, in the 2000s, 2000 to 2010, we were getting one invasive species that would establish per month in California. But prior to that, it was every 2 months. Now it's much sooner. It's about one invasive species establishing about every 2 to 3 weeks. So it's for the ornamental industry, it is a really bad situation. And mostly because every industry blames the ornamental industry on moving these things around. Yes, that's true to a certain extent. What they do, unfortunately, is they ignore the industries that can also transmit things around. Anyway, let me try to zoom through the Asian citrus-psyllid. I'll do that real quick. The Asian citrus-psyllid, and it's not going to affect probably anybody in this room. It may affect some of the PCAs and so on that have to deal with the citrus that is out there. But it is hammering the citrus nursery industry, and it is part of the industry. So even though it's a small segment, it's part of the industry. It's one of the illustrations that I wanted to use that, all right, the citrus industry is saying the nursery, and this is because of Florida, the nursery industry is going to move it all over the state and we're all in trouble. Well, it's established in California in people's backyards. And it's also established in a couple of citrus producing areas, for instance, in the Imperial County, right along the border with Mexico. And so the growers down there that were infested, before the regulators could come in, were shipping their product, the oranges with leaves and stems, up the highways and all the way to Ventura and then Riverside and other places into the packing houses. Because they were spending so much effort on regulating the nursery industry, they ignored that, and I think they caused an enormous problem for themselves. I think that's exactly also how it got into the Tulare County. So it's in the San Joaquin Valley simply because I think they're moving fruit, okay? But your industry, the nursery industry, is the one that's going to be impacted and impacted the most. So that's why invasives are important. The number of invasives I'm going to go through real quickly just to give you a flavor for what the regulators are looking at. And as I go through briefly, there will be a couple of trials that we're running with Lucia. So we have a couple of cooperative projects here looking at some of the really nasty ones for the Nursery Greenhouse Association in California, the NGA. We've gotten some funding to look at the mealy bugs, which are a real huge problem as an invasive being able to be shipped. So that's one of the major problems right there. All right, zooming. First, with that working. So here's what I'm going to cover. Many counties, Asian citrus-psyllid. All over Southern California, this borderline that you see there, that one, I think I'll use this laser. So this little line right here, this is the quarantine area. This was the major infestation down in Imperial County. If you follow the highways up on both sides of the Salton Sea, and then along the 10 and the 60, so along the 10 it infested Redlands, along the 60 it's in Orange County right on the edge. This is the major hub, and it's moving in this direction into the citrus growing areas of Ventura County and Oxnard and San Bernardino, or Santa Barbara. So right here is the major front of the Asian citrus-psyllid, and I think they finally got the hint at this point that it's not the nursery industry that's moving the Asian citrus-psyllid. This is in homeowners' yards, and there is a wave going on its way into Ventura. So they've separated Ventura into two zones. The one that's at the front, where the Asian citrus-psyllid is moving out of the homes and into the citrus growing area, and then the citrus growing area. So they're going to treat them differently. They asked us in the science committee, should we aggressively attack that front edge? And we said yes. Now the CDFA has to respond. I doubt that they'll do that. They don't have any more money. They're done. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Whenever a bug is found, there's a dot on the map. You can see it is unbelievable. And of course, Los Angeles County right here is where the major infestation is. It's spreading east in this direction from this major area and spreading right over here into the Ventura area from the hillsides there. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. Here's zone 1 and 2. So the lower edge is zone 1 in Ventura. Zone 2 is where the citrus growing area is, right here. This is the homeowners. You can see it's homes, and it's moving in this direction. All right. This is the big problem, though. It's the Wan Long Bing, so it's the disease, citrus greening. One spot, one tree. We believe also that, according to the science that's going on right now, that the trees around it are also infested with HLB, but technically the CDFA can't remove them or do anything with them until they get a confirmation that the disease is in the tree. Really bad situation. Now, this has just come in. I've written a couple of articles on this. You should be aware of this. This is in the landscape. In Florida, when this got into the landscape, this became a gigantic issue in Florida, and they're still dealing with it. So it's to warn you now to start watching for this. If you are in ficus production, if you have any kind of the ficus at all, you're going to most likely end up with this whitefly in production. In the landscape, it's going to defoliate the ficus trees, almost assuredly, especially since people will most likely not want to treat for it. And that means that those whiteflies have to go somewhere, and they're going to go on to whatever ficus is nearby. In the infestation that San Diego found here, they then surveyed a mile or 3 miles from that original site, and every ficus within 3 miles of the original find site has Ficus whitefly on it. So it's something we're going to have to deal with. Here it is as an immature on the underside of a leaf, so it's a typical whitefly look, but it'd be very hard to identify it because it's transparent. You're looking at the leaf, it's green. Very, very difficult. Most likely what's going to happen is people will notice these infestations when the trees start to defoliate. That's how it usually gets found. So here they are in a couple of empty pupil cases, and there's many other nymphs in this leaf. You can see the leaf is beginning to look sick, and they yellow, look sick, and then they just drop. So this is Florida. The leaves look real bad. These are the border trees that a lot of people in San Diego County, lots of border trees between properties, and these trees just simply completely defoliate, so you look right through. So if it's an apartment complex or a neighbor nearby, you'll be able to see right through to the other neighbor. And then even these really huge trees. So if you look at the one on the photo on the lower right, right here's a car. You can see this is a huge tree, but there's no leaves on it practically. This is going to be a pretty serious issue for us, I think. Now I wanted to stop for just a minute because this did turn out to be a problem here for the industry. These are most likely native insects, but they're not identified. So what that means is that we know the genus of the insect, but not the species name. When we don't know the species name of the insect, then it's automatically a quarantine-related pest, and you end up having to deal with it with the county. Now, there are some that are known serious pests. If they have the same genus name, for instance, Vibergia here, then it is absolutely, you are going to be regulated no ifs, no ands, no buts. And so this has happened. We've had to remove a lot of plants. The example here is an infested row of mother plants that were alongside of a road here. This road, a dirt road, was alongside also of the shipping area. So having infested plants near the shipping area, Florida was not happy when they found the pest. The county comes in and says, you've got a problem, you need to deal with it. I can help, I get involved and help along. And one of the suggestions was, well, if you have this plant anywhere else, remove them. I would be able to write the letter to the county. The county says he's removed them. The county tells Florida, Florida is satisfied that you've made the change. You're reinstated rather than suspended. So that's kind of a real fast way to talk about some of the things that have happened as far as the invasives go. But here's the thing. These mealybugs, so you can see right in the crown of the plant here, this is an aloe plant. It could be that there are aloe aphids and aloe mealybugs, and they are covered in that white waxy material. So our research project is to look at how can we control this pest so that it's acceptable when it reaches its target, the customer. And the first thing we wanted to take a look at was to take a look at the waxy material, because you can spray this thing all day long, but if the water droplets don't soak into that insect and they wash right off of that waxy material, you're not getting anything done at all. So our goal is to find products, especially surfactants, that will break that waxy layer down and then attack it with an insecticide where you can actually contact the insect. And we wanted to look at those independently and then in combination. And we have a long way to go. There's a lot of products to look at, but we have come to a conclusion on some of this already. Britta's been doing a lot of this work in the lab, and it's been really great. It's more or less been determined that the petroleum oils work extremely well. Also the insecticidal soaps. Those two things really attack that waxy layer and can really help contact the insect, or as a surfactant to let the insect be more effective on the mealybug. Now we have a lot of work to do on that. We're writing a report basically for the industry, but we need to take it a lot further. This is a huge project, and it will benefit the entire industry nationwide, I think, really. So it's a great project. You can see right here is our latest one, the Agave Mealy Bug. Boy, that shut down a lot of stuff. There's the mealybug right in the plant. So all the regulators do is they just look for just a little clump of white waxy stuff. That's it, you're done. And you've got to deal with it. And that's a really serious thing if you can't really get down into the crown of that plant or near the crown to deal with it. Yes?
Well, it's already in the environment. You already see it in gardens and yards.
You bet.
How is us controlling it going to change that?
You mean in the yards or in production?
I've already seen it. It's in Carlsbad, it's in Oceanside.
Yeah, but that's no different than any other pest that you have in the landscape, like thrips or whiteflies or whatever. You still have to deal with it in commercial production, so it's clean so you can ship it. And so if you're getting reinfestations from your neighbors, you need to deal with your neighbors as well. There was an example, Craig back there in the back, the aloe mite, and we did some work. I remember you had a neighbor that right in the road right there, so much aloe mite on the aloe flowers that the flowers looked like a big heart because they were so loaded with aloe mites.
I had a wicked witch that owned that property, and she sold it, and the new people were very nice, and they allowed me to remove it all.
There's the answer.
And I replanted their entrance.
Area-wide management, I love it. Yeah, that's what you've got to do.
But the lady who owned it at the time, you were there was no way I would approach her. She would have told me, I hope it infests all your plants.
Okay, we did turn the tape off on that, right? I'm glad we can edit this stuff. This is great. But the point is that you're right. I mean, I argue to a certain extent, this is a native insect. They shouldn't be treating it like a quarantine pest. So there should be a few on a few. That's the rules. Few on a few, and everything's fine. Florida is being so tough right now. It's not a few and a few. It's one. It's cast skins. That's why Lisa, I'll bet most of you got her email, Lisa Leondas, the ag commissioner. She's saying, man, Florida's getting tough. Just be smart when you're shipping stuff to Florida at the moment, okay? I'm going to fly through this. An issue we're dealing with now, and I'm sure it's going to be huge, actually, here shortly, is that the yucca and agave weevil is beginning to wipe out yucca and agave. Now, yucca's native, it's everywhere. So is agave to a certain extent. But you've got a lot of people growing agave in their yards, and then it's becoming a real popular plant because it's drought tolerant. I go on and go on and go on. They're getting hammered by these weevils. And the weevils are huge. In the plant right here, there is one right alongside here. It's caused a little bit of damage. It chews a little dinky hole, lays an egg. And here's a pupa that we found in the pot. So it's a huge weevil. I think I have a picture here. So it's big. So here's a hand holding two weevils. They're a big weevil. The yucca weevil is slightly smaller than the agave. Agave weevil is a little bigger. We're trying to get some taxonomists to identify them up at UC Davis. Here's one, a huge one that's over an inch long. It's on the Mexican fence post. This ground, I think I have it right here. This ground this Mexican fence post planting was hammered by the weevil. The larvae are in there causing these huge holes right at the base of the plant. And so the grower had to rip all those out. And so we're going to get involved with that. We're going to try to use some nematodes to try to deal with this. But this is a huge, huge problem at the moment. Yes. Citrus root weevil, you haven't, I'm sure, heard much about it, and you probably won't. I think that just to toot our horn, I think the UCCE that have been working on this for years, it's not spreading. We've been releasing parasites like crazy. We've been monitoring, even using master gardeners in all of Southern California. We're not finding it spreading. That's good news. Because if they find one in your property, your nursery has to go through the quarantine protocol. Basically, it's tough. There's been one nursery that's had to go through it twice already, and he's real close to the infestation. So just be aware that we're real happy that's not spreading. It may not be affecting you. Invasive. So we've been doing a lot of research. I'm not going to go through that. We've determined its biological cycle and so on in Southern California. There's the original infestation, and it's not spreading from that at all. In fact, some of these ones here, we can't find weevils again. So that's a good thing. They've been out of quarantine for a long time, but the major infestation, they're still there. We see them every year, and they can be in pretty good numbers. This is the other one, the giant palm weevils. I know you've heard about the red palm weevil. It's really big. We believe at this point, John Kabashima in Orange County believes that it is gone and eradicated. And that's a very good news. That in fact, I think it's sometime this year the USDA will remove the quarantine because of that weevil. But we do have a problem, and that is we have the South American palm weevil. Is it coming up? There we go. Oh, that's the red imported fire. Okay. The South American palm weevil is still attacking us from the San Ysidro area. If it gets in the palm industry or established in the United States, we're going to have to deal with it. We are desperately trying to tell the USDA or APHIS that this is not going to be a major pest in Southern California. The date industry is the one that's very concerned about this as it moves up. But we're, at the moment, all the traps that were put all along the southeastern United States have all been brought back to San Diego, to San Ysidro, to try to keep it from moving. That's good news. I think we can trap them out and keep them out rather than make a big deal out of this. We'll see how it goes. Lots of new beetles. This is the latest issues you should be watching for, and we'll probably end up doing some research on, and we have done some research on already. The shot hole borers, the bark beetles, the ambrosia beetles. The problem with the ambrosia beetles is they transmit a disease, and the beetles eat the disease. They don't eat the plant. And, but if it's a diseased plant, the plant dies. So I just described that, so let me move on. Lots of Dracaena coming in with the ambrosia beetles that are these little tiny holes are from the beetle, and you can see this is diseased wood or cane, basically, that the weevils are, not the weevils, but the beetles are feeding on. Another one that we ran into this last couple of years here that we've been dealing with, we finally got a handle on it, is a Pate species. Notice here's the genus, no species. It's quarantine-like pest. The poor grower had to deal with it. It causes these holes then powder or sawdust onto the leaves, and when the regulators see the sawdust, they know that there's beetles around, and now there's regulation that goes on. So we got the Pate species, just illustrates the beetles are real small, and they cause those perfectly round holes with the sawdust. One of the growers that I've had to deal with, he's bringing in Dracaena, left it on the dock for a week. A week later, lift up the crates to move them, piles of sawdust underneath the crate. And that means it's heavily infested. If it's that bad, we're not treating them. They're going to have to be burned or double bagged and destroyed. Okay, so you got to watch for this kind of thing. Let me go on. This is the nasty one. Again, another impact on the nursery industry. It's not hit us yet, but it will. It's moving down the castor bean, right? It'll make it to San Diego County without question. It loves oak. It loves box elder, and it loves avocado. And so it's going to move down here, and it'll devastate Southern California as it comes, because it transmits a Fusarium that they eat. So they love the Fusarium. The Fusarium's on their mouth parts, so as the female makes their tunnels, it's transmitting the disease, and they eat the disease. This is going to be a huge thing because the regulators already know that the nursery stock, and it's mostly trees though, but the tree stock, some of the bigger nurseries that are in Ventura that are near one of the infestations, they're looking at them very closely, very carefully. West Covina, I think West Covina area as well. So the Huntington Gardens area is being devastated. The botanical gardens there, especially, they've had an avocado collection there for a very long time. It's being devastated by this weevil, or this shot hole borer. So Fusarium's associated, As the plant grows, you'll see the fusariums really taking over. Well, this is what they're eating. They're not eating the cambium, they're not eating the bark, they're not eating the hardwood, they're eating the disease. And so here's what it looks like on the outside. You'll see these, what they call white volcanoes, and then a wet spot on the tree. Now the local bark beetle that attacks oaks caused this wet spot already, but not the white volcano. So that's a real key indicator at this point. This is in Long Beach, where they have got some box elders that were 100% infested, and they were all destroyed and taken away. But now they've done a survey, and it's widespread, this beetle and the disease. So it's something the industry is going to have to deal with if you're dealing with any of the woodies. Okay, and I think, and there's a lot of plants here. Box elder, castor bean, avocado are all the oaks, basically. The silk tree, liquid amber, and even the coral tree, I noticed erythrina's on there, which is really amazing. Palo Verde, California sycamore, geez, we're in trouble. Probably not going to stop it. There's the infestations. The triangles, the red triangles, are the infestations that have been identified for sure. The circles are the outer edges of the spread. So the circles, they haven't found it yet, but you can see that it's widespread and very infested. Okay? I don't want to go into that information. Let me go back to it. I'll leave it up, but I want to stop there. Boy, I went through a 45-minute talk in 20 minutes. So any questions? Lucy, you want to come back up for questions?
Yes. I have any questions?
Now that we're here, time to attack us for questions while we have a chance.
They get on edible fig also?
Yes, it's fig in general. It's even literata, which is that huge leafed, typically an indoor plant, Ficus literata. So yes, it's going to be on. In fact, there's a related species. I'd have to go back to the slide. There's even an oddball, some rhododendron of some sort that gets it as well. There's an oddball in there, but it's Ficus pretty much in general. Benjamina or Benjamina is the number one.
I got my plants from Michigan, but it's mostly tropical, like from Florida, right?
Yeah, Florida for sure. So might not affect some of you that are indoor, but we'll see. Questions for Lucia or any of us? Mike?
Jim, on that psyllid, when the eucalyptus psyllid came from Australia, spread across the state in less than a year, how are they, I don't see how you can stop that from spreading.
Not anymore.
It's here.
Yeah, we had a chance early on, and I don't want to go into the politics of it, but the politics killed it. The politics allowed it to spread. That's as far as that's best I could do. You're right. We have brought in a parasitoid from Pakistan, Dr. Mark Hoddle at UC Riverside. I'm working with him on that issue up at UC Riverside in quarantine. He's releasing them at the UC Botanical Gardens. We have a biological control citrus that has never been sprayed with insecticides for 50, 60 years. And they want to release it there, and they want to release it in the major Los Angeles area. They did this last year. They have both established and are reproducing. That's very good news, because we need, for this industry, we need to stop the movement. And the best way to do that is to take the population down so it's not overloading and spreading.
Will the parasites reduce the population enough to reduce its ability as a vector?
No.
Because the disease is the problem.
Right. That's correct. This whole strategy, so that you know, is to delay the spread of the disease. Not necessarily. We tried to delay the spread of the bug, and we're still making an effort. But now it's to try to delay the spread of the disease, because it's inevitable at this point. For Lucia, we're willing to take any questions on any of the research or research you think we should be doing, or the projects that we've presented. We appreciate very much your being here. This is really great. Any comment, Lucia?
Just thank you very much. I really appreciate you being here.
And please feel free to stay and enjoy. You got to eat the rest of that food, or take a taco on your way out or whatever. Or please stay and discuss things with us. We have some posters up in the room, and please come and look at the displays and talk to us if you need to. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.